Hey, everybody. I am here with Emmet Byrne. How's it going, Emmet?
Yeah, all good, thanks.
And I've got Jared, of course, with me. You know him, Jared Blando. And Emmet is from Ireland. That's different from where we're at. Is that correct?
Yes, it is different from Ireland is different from America. I can confirm that.
And I was just telling him I thought all my life that I was Irish. I was told I was Irish and German. And then come to find out you do one of those tests, and I was mostly Scottish and German. So I was like,
It's
all
a
my
fair
life, I
shot.
was like,
We're
You're,
everywhere.
you're
We're
not
it's,
just
You're not
huh?
Mongolian. You're not like 80% Mongolian.
No, I was
That's
I was hoping for something really
same.
bizarre. But I was like, I thought I was. I've been telling people I was Irish for years, and then yeah, that didn't pan out. But now I'm a
You,
Highlander, so it was
yeah,
kind of an
even
upgrade.
better.
I'm
Yeah.
what you
immortal.
are is you're
It's
just
even
an
colder
American
than
mutt, an
yeah.
American mutt,
Yeah, no,
like the rest of us.
that's exactly what I am. We are here to talk to Emmett, which of course, like I've told him, I love his name from Emmett Otter's Jug Band Christmas. We
100%.
are here to talk to him about his Beyond the Woods Kickstarter that he did for 5th edition. Talk to him about just kind of his history with role playing games, as well as how role playing games were in Ireland, his history with them, obviously, over there, and just to chat it up. So, can you tell us if it was what can you tell us about Beyond the Woods? So, if somebody they're just watching this video, they have never seen it, heard about it before, how would you describe it to them?
Yeah, so Beyond the Woods is an Irish-inspired dark fantasy setting for fifth edition. It's very different to what you get from your normal D&D. It's much more focused on exploration and survival. It's way less heroic. You're literally like you have to pack your gear before you go, make sure you're bringing the right food and water, make sure you have like okay, we'll have to bring a rope, all that kind of stuff. So it's much more along those lines of people like okay, come together. What do we need to bring on this? Do we have enough money for like a donkey that we can put more stuff on? That kind of thing. So that's kind of what it is, and it's set in an Irish inspired fantasy world. It's not Ireland, but it's inspired by a lot of the Irish myths and legends. You can kind of see a bit of the map there behind me that Jared did, of course.
Yep.
But yeah, that's pretty much the gist of it. And there's a lot of like different rules from typical 5e, like again the food and water, how you actually carry stuff. Because I've always been a massive fan of Resident Evil, so it's like a slot based inventory system, which
Hell
is
yeah.
like, yeah, absolutely, yeah. So you only have I have like 10 slots to take stuff, and my armor takes up 6 slots. I'm like, okay, well, what else do you bring? Which is like that kind of thing, which you see obviously in a lot of OSR games as well.
Yeah.
And then different rules for death and dying and all that kind of stuff to make it a bit more like grim and perilous, I would say. And then they're kind of leaning into that Irish mythology of the fairies and the other world and all that kind of stuff.
Sounds great. That sounds real good. I've got to ask you, was there any mechanical game out there that you kind of was inspired by to make it
Yeah,
like that?
absolutely. When part of the reason for doing it for 5e was that hex crawl feel to it. So you can do hex crawl West Marches style campaigns, and that's kind of what it's built for. The map is covered in hexes, and Jared's done a lot of icons that you can put them down. But it was very much inspired by games like that, but particularly like Forbidden Lands, by Free League. And I was like, well, why isn't that for D&D? And I know a lot of people will go, they'll play D&D and then they'll go like, oh, hey, so here's some other games. But a lot of people won't. They'll just play D&D.
Right.
So one of the things I've always liked to do, and kind of in my career in the past as well, is bring different experiences to D&D 5e to let people go, hey, look, there's different ways you can play this game, and hope that they go, hey, look, jump out of D&D
Mhm.
and try
Yeah.
some new stuff as well. Like because we've all played tons of games. I've played 5e to death. I know some people are sick of it as well, and we have the new edition, and there's all that weirdness as well. But for me, the initial inception of this was that hex crawl West Marches vibe, very much like Forbidden Lands, but in D&D 5th edition, which is part of the reason that I didn't do it as its own system, because Free League have already nailed that. Like, it's kind of like
Right.
Yeah.
reinventing the wheel. So
Yeah.
yeah, that was absolutely the inspiration. But I've taken it from like a lot of stuff I've done in the past, games I've worked on in the past, when I was at Cubicle 7, or just games I've read. I'm kind of always like trying to pick and take things from different places as well.
Was it a hard port? Like, was it difficult kind of adjusting everything that you wanted to put in mechanically into the 5e? Or was it more like modular, like it wasn't too difficult to do?
I think one of the things was the decision I made early on was to do new classes for it. So that was both from like so there's new species in there as well. That's more thematic, but there's new classes in there, which is definitely more of a mechanical decision because I wanted to tone the power level down a little bit and
Mm.
make sure that the abilities they had were tied in much more closely to the world itself and like the different things you'd be doing, but also like the just generally the world, you know. Like if, in typical D&D, like if you have something like the Ranger, they their whole thing is like, oh, we're really good hunters and travelers and everything like that. But all the Ranger really does is kind of make travel meaningless a lot of the time, you know, which is like
Yeah.
the opposite of what the Rangers should do, you know.
Yeah.
So we have like a hunter in this, which is kind of like it's a bit of a cross between a ranger and a rogue, and they don't make exploration and hunting like meaningless, but they do make it easier. But it's something like it's definitely their niche, you know, that they can work on. So like for that, I think it was the change in the classes was a big thing. Other than that, like the changes to encumbrance is pretty easy. You just kind of like, okay, well, don't use that encumbrance. Use this one because it's way more straightforward. Because no one uses encumbrance in D&D,
No.
really, because
Yeah.
it's too finicky. It's like, oh well, this weighs 7.3 pounds and this weighs 11.7
Yeah.
pounds, and now I have to.
They made everything
So,
easier, and then for some reason they kind of stuck on that, and it was just like, and then they presented it as like, well, if you use encumbrance, you can use this. I'm like, why would I
yeah,
do that?
yeah. So like from a very simple point of view with the encumbrances, like you get a number of slots equal to your strength score. So if your strength is 16, you get 16 slots. And like heavy stuff like armor is 4 or 5 slots. You know, like a sword is I think 2 slots, and a great sword is 3 slots, kind of thing. So it very quickly adds up.
Yeah.
Because one of the things I did first was like, I came up with this inventory system, and then I took like I think a standard fighter from D&D 5e. It's like here's the gear that they get, and it pretty much completely filled up their inventory slots. I was like, oh, that's what I want. That gives you interesting choices.
Yep.
You know,
Yeah.
because one of the things I love is like sitting down like with your group, like, okay, we're leaving the base. What do we need? Where are we going? How long are we going to be gone for? It's like, okay, we need water, we need food. We're probably going to need like climbing gear. I need this weapon, but I can't bring like 20 different weapons. I need like a quiver of arrows. I can't afford to bring a spare quiver. It's like, okay, well, you're strong. You take more stuff. That kind of thing. Do you know, like, that sounds really boring to people, but like
Well,
I really enjoy that planning aspect, you know?
I was gonna say because you're trying to like 5e is not really grounded. You can play
No,
it grounded, but as written, it's not grounded.
yeah,
And I think that's intentional because they want people to play the game, and they don't really care so much about like you can have rations, you can have this stuff, but even like buying the Explorers pack. Well, the Explorer pack just has everything that you need, right?
yeah,
That's it, and you're just assumed to just carry it. A guy with full plate, he's just I mean, so it's just like I appreciate the effort to like no like just surviving and having to make those decisions on what to bring on an adventure, right? It's you're committing to something, and if you fuck it up, you could screw the entire party, right? I
yeah,
mean,
absolutely, yeah,
yeah,
100%. And it's with the yeah, like picking out your gear is a really important part of it, and all that kind of stuff. But it is making that, yeah, those decisions are far more important. It becomes interesting decisions rather than montage and we're at the place that we need to be. You know, the
yeah,
actual travel is the important aspect. And like, yeah, D&D is definitely more heroic,
Yep.
obviously, just as written, because especially they're like, well, just blaze through levels 1 and 2 or just start at level 3, you
yeah,
know. Whereas in Beyond the Woods, like it only goes to level 10, so you're at each level for a longer time, but there's interesting decisions at every level and stuff like that. So it is like, take your time. You're going to be at level 1 for 3 to 5 sessions, and you're going to be at the kind of the first 5 levels. Each of those takes 3 to 5 sessions, so that's like
yeah,
25 sessions, and then after that, it's going to take you 5 to 10 sessions to level up. You know, so you do level up slower, and it's so everything else has to be interesting. Do you know? Because for a lot of D&D players, it's like, oh, when I can't wait to level up because I'm going to get this new thing. Do you know?
yeah.
And one of the other things as well that the considerations was removing a chunk of the spells. Certain like the very overpowered, not overpowered spells, but
Create water is like a cantrip. I'm
yeah,
like, how does the economy of 5e even work if
yeah,
you could just
100%.
create water and like
Yeah,
food at like will?
yeah. First thing I was like, get rid of Goodberry and get rid of Healing Word. You know,
Yeah,
and one thing as well, I should say, you know, again the logic of it as well, because the world of Beyond the Woods is basically there's been this the Slua or the Slua na Marv, which is the host of the dead. They're almost like the Wild Hunt from The Witcher or something,
Hmm.
but they came out and they swept across the land and they basically killed millions of people. And the survivors fled to the city of Caed Darroch, which is the golden tree that you can see at the top there, and that light protected them. So everyone has been living there for centuries. So there's like a whole city, and everyone's just living there, protected by this glow of this golden light, and they can't go anywhere. Do you know? So it's like, okay, well, you have to build very structurally, and we have to have certain areas for farms and all that kind of stuff. And if you have stuff like create food and water, that's incredibly powerful. So within the city, then like magic users have become more powerful because they literally hold the power that can make stuff, and
Sure.
that kind of thing. A bit Attack on Titan, where you're in these walls, and there's horrible stuff outside, and you're staying here to be safe. So that tied into the choice of what spells we were going to put in, and like contact other plane. There's no other planes aside from the other world, and Raised Dead is sorry. Which one was Raised Dead? Whichever one raises zombies, that's still in there. Resurrection. When everyone brings people back from the dead,
Yeah.
that's gone as
Okay.
well. So,
I think it's a good choice.
yeah, just because like it does make it takes a lot of the tension out of it, especially
Yeah.
it's like, oh well, this person's going to die, but I'll just use healing word from like across the room and they're back up.
Yeah.
You know?
So, did you include any mechanics? Like, as somebody, I play a lot of 5e, although I try to run low fantasy 5e,
Ooh.
which is interesting. I have like level 7 characters, and I think like only 2 or 3 of them have like magic items, and they're like minor magic items, like that stuff. But like for you, 5e does tend to revolve around combat, or at least a lot of people think it does, and the way that it's generally run. So is your combat in Beyond the Woods, because if your people are going to be at level 1 for 3 to 5 sessions, is it built more around role playing, or did you build in mechanics for the combat to try to give them some durability? Like how did you kind of deal with that?
Yeah, so there's a lot more focus on the exploration side of it, and the role playing because a lot of it is you're outside the city and you're in the wilds, so you're role playing amongst yourselves, and then people you meet, but there's not many people out there. But you have these things like similar to Forbidden Lands, where the day is broken up into quarters, and you can be like, well, I can hunt and I can forage and I can make camp and all that kind of stuff. So that gives you way more stuff to do, and there's a much more breadth of skills to use in that. Then when you get into combat, to make that a bit more, again, in my opinion, engaging and challenging, some of the spells are gone. But also one of the first things I did was, and it's always bugged me in D&D, is that death saving throws hang around. So if you go down and you take a death saving throw, if you get back up, you still have that death saving throw. So if you go down again, like, and you've already taken one, you go down again, it's like, oh, I failed another death saving throw, and they stay until you rest. But even when you rest, only one goes away. So it's always there. There's always more of a risk. So when you go down, it's much more serious from that regard. But the actual characters, like the starting array for characters, is lower than D&D's, and then a lot of the classes I think have lower HP. Like I think the I'm trying to remember now. I think the warrior, who's like our fighter, has D12. I think the hunter has D10 hit points. I think all the others have like D8 or D6. So
that's one hit from being dead.
Yeah.
I like it.
Yeah, you still get them as you level up, with your con score and all
Sure.
that kind of stuff. Yeah, but yeah, there's a lot of things that it's little tweaks here and there to add up to be like, oh, this is actually suddenly way more deadly than.
Well, I guess it comes down to the DM literally running the adventure. And it's like, hey, instead of fighting like 12 kobolds or whatever, we're gonna fight like 3. And that's like, you got to creep up on them. You got to have a battle plan, and then you got to spring it, because it's just like real combat. Anybody can be killed. You know what I mean? And you can't afford those losses, so you do what you can. I actually enjoy that. I think the tactical decision making like that is kind of lost, at least in a lot. Like you said, you played a lot of 5e. I played a shit ton of 5e, and you're just like, some of these fights, you're just like, dude, like this is ridiculous. Like you just like 4 or 5 dudes people are taking on like a fucking battalion of whatever. And I'm like, I mean, they still armed with swords and spears. Somehow they're not killing you. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, I think as well, the one of the things that I always liked is that like the Witcher vibe of knowing what you're going up against. I
yeah,
think one of the benefits of this is that like there's some new monsters in it that people won't know. Like if you play D&D Death, you won't know them. But like we have the Slua, which are these ghosts, and then they can become more powerful the more souls they take and all that kind of stuff. But it leans into the Irish myth where they have the traditional D&D resistant to bludgeoning, piercing, and slashing damage from non-magical weapons. But if you have an iron weapon, it does more damage because
oh
iron
yeah,
and fairies and everything like that. And then you can get like iron filings, which is like a bag of iron dust that you throw on them. And then for the next round, anyone who hits them does regular damage to them.
That's good.
Or like you, if you find an iron dagger, you're like, yes, an iron dagger, like that kind of
which
thing.
is like the crappiest weapon in
Yeah,
like
yeah,
D&D.
yeah,
You're just like, oh,
yeah,
it's not steel, but it's like, no, no, no. And this is important. This will save
yeah,
your ass. Like,
yeah.
Yeah.
So there's that kind of stuff in there as well, which is really fun. Again, for I'm like in my head, it's really fun. I
Yeah.
find that stuff really fun, you know.
Hopefully
Uh,
other people will too.
yeah,
I think
yeah.
they will. I think you're. I think that's something that's very interesting that I've been wanting to say here is that when I read about it, I said this is obviously inspired by Forbidden Lands, and that's why I wanted to ask you that because I am currently running Forbidden Lands, which I almost never tell people what I'm running, like on my channel. So I'm actually running Forbidden Lands. I've not done videos on it at all. Like
Hmm.
I'm holding that in, and I've ran several sessions of it. I think it's absolutely genius.
Yeah,
After
it's
all
fun.
these years, it's very different, and you almost Forbidden Lands, of course, may not be exactly what your thing is, but like when you play Forbidden Lands, you have as you're running it, you have to kind of like let go of some of your past baggage of running stuff, and you have to kind of just like go with it. And I love what you're talking about when it comes to survival. That's always been my thing, just the same as what you've been talking about is, and that's what Forbidden Lands and obviously what Beyond the Woods does as well, is it makes small victories big victories whenever it's so hard to obtain. And I know you said in the write up about it that inspired by kind of like by Elden Ring and stuff. And
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
I get that feel from stuff that I enjoy where, and I think we've talked about this, Jared, too, about how we've gone away from, because this is what Souls games do, right? Is they give you terrible foes against you, and they really make you learn skilled stuff. You have to know how they move, how they attack you, but then you get these small little victories that add up, and it makes it so much more worth it than just in giving. Here's this weapons and here's this gear. Like with Forbidden Lands, my guys are literally just like you talked about. They're at like their max. They don't have a donkey. They don't have anything to put it on, so they're like at their max when it comes to their how much they can hold, and they're literally like, man, I've got to. This sword here takes up one more, and I tell them there's been some difficulty with the players because we're all new to it, and it's like you have to kind of just say, look, man, this is an abstraction a little bit, but I was like, if I gave you like a trombone and like a guitar and then like a wand or something, like hold on those things, put those on your body, and it's like you're gonna be really messed up. You're not gonna be able to
encumbered.
walk correctly. It's gonna be difficult for you to use them. Like hold on to a bunch of stuff. I can barely hold on to a couple things myself before it starts, and then to use it proficiently. So I love the fact that that's what, and I knew that's what I was kind of waiting for. I was like, he's gonna say Forbidden
Yeah,
Lands,
yeah,
and it is just a really neat new kind of opening up your eyes way of doing, the hex crawl exploration, survival, which means so much to me in these games because I want to put myself from reading Tolkien and stuff like that about them eating and surviving, and if they're like there's a small thing of woods over here, like it all kind of brought it to life. And I think when you kind of just kind of hand wave that stuff, it doesn't make those small little things that you did to survive. When you do that, it makes it worth a lot more.
yeah.
So I'm
It is absolutely about the journey. Like literally, it's about the journey from A to B and what you do along the way, and that could be the most interesting things. And again, like I have a chunk of encounters in the core book that the GM can roll up as the players are exploring, but like they're not balanced, and it says in it, it's like these are
love
not
it,
balanced to a particular level.
love
You
Like
it.
can run away.
the world is not leveled to the
Yeah,
players. Like if you come against something and you think you're going to die, you better run. Like
right.
like
I don't like balance. I never have. Second edition's not balanced. It's my favorite edition. We've talked about that. I
Yeah.
saw a great quote from somebody who said that Perseus wasn't balanced with the Medusa. He was better than her. So like that's been in my head where it's like things are going to be better than you, and you're going to be better than things, and so you've got to pick your fights accordingly. So
Well, and,
Yeah.
and intelligence is the leveler.
yeah,
That's the thing.
clever,
It's like yeah, it's being clever. It's the element of surprise and preparation. I think
tactic,
that's something that a lot of role playing games don't do well. They
right?
don't because they're geared towards and 5e is not the only one guilty of this. There's a lot of role playing games where like
Sure.
you're a hero, and so you can do things heroically. And I get that, but at the same time, I think there's a lot of us, both in OSR and in the more mainstream stuff, that is just like, yeah, but I just want to exist in a different world and I want to
Mm,
be drawn
Right.
in. You know what I mean? And that means like trials and tribulations, and you lose things, you lose adventures, you lose characters and NPCs, and it hurts. I've run
yeah,
games where people are like, wait, they died? And I'm like, yeah, like you made the wrong decision, and they were literally screwed up over that,
Yeah.
and you
yeah,
just and sometimes it's on the DM or the GM to really enforce that kind of stuff, that your decisions have consequences.
yeah,
And it also depends on the kind of game that you want to run. So, lighthearted games, there's nothing wrong with that. But sometimes, like Brandon and I have talked about, how we like dark fantasy, how we like those worlds that, take risks and there are real challenges and it's not easy and people will die. Like I think that's it's it's for a segment of people that play role playing games. I don't think it's for everybody,
yeah,
but it's nice to have the option. And it sounds like Beyond the Woods is definitely in that vein.
yeah. Being a hero doesn't mean being stronger than other people. Like,
Right.
that's and again,
Great
look, it
point.
depends on what you're looking for. Like Jared, we worked together on Age of Sigmar, and
High
uh,
fantasy.
yeah, and I also worked on Warhammer Fantasy, like the grimdark old world. And in Age of Sigmar, literally, like I used to explain to people, it's like starting at level 5, between level 5 and 10 in D&D. Like, you're throwing fireballs around, you're fighting like hordes of enemies. Like,
Hmm.
you can mow down people because you're basically a demigod.
Yeah.
And then I'll never forget playing Warhammer Fantasy, and I rolled up a grave digger or grave robber.
Nice.
I was like, sweet, I'm a grave robber. And like at starting level as a grave robber, you don't even start with a shovel. Like, you start with like a pick or something like that. Like, you can't even dig. Like, my goal was to get a shovel, and
Yeah.
within the first 3 or 4 sessions, someone gave me a sword, and I was like, sweet, I'm going to sell this and buy a shovel. And I did. I was like, you can take the longsword, give me a shovel, because I'm a gravedigger without a shovel. Like, and it was just, and it's the same thing. Like, you'll start in Wolfrup, Warhammer Fantasy, and if you start with a dagger, you're rolling. Like, it's
Yeah.
very unusual to start with something like that. But
Yeah, it's
Dude,
really
it's
cool.
like
depending on what they will do,
I ran a game of Warhammer Second Edition for a while, and
Mm.
like it's just like I think we had a rat catcher, and rat catcher is the best class. It's the
Oh,
most hilarious starting class, and it's like you literally have a rat with a stick or a stick with a rat on it.
oh
I
yeah,
think, and
Right,
you have
yeah,
right.
and it's just like that's in your equipment, and you're just like, all right, well, I'm not respected by the community. I'm dirt poor, but I'm resistant to disease because I'm constantly around rats, and that
yeah,
comes in fucking clutch later on when you start running into like the crazy
Nurgle,
Nurgle
Nurgle stuff.
stuff. Yeah.
Yeah,
So it's just like, yeah, no, it's I guess that's another example of another pretty brutal, in almost in the vein of DCC, right? I
yeah,
mean,
yeah,
Warhammer
yes.
Second Edition.
yeah.
I didn't play third and fourth edition, so I
You can
can't
get like a
comment.
chicken or a duck in DCC, and you're like throwing it into the room to see what if it springs a
DCC is
trap.
a ton of fun as well. I did a little bit of work for them a while back as well. DCC is
Oh, you work for Goodman?
just a little bit. I did like some conversion work. They're converting some of their DCC stuff to 5e, or some of their old stuff into it, and that kind of thing. But yeah, no, that's I love their spells. Like, they have all the spell like mishaps like per spell. It's
Yeah,
so ridiculous. Like, fucking
it's a
love
lot
it.
of
Like, it's
it's a
great.
lot of work too. I did
Yeah.
a lot for Weird Frontiers, for Dave's
Oh yeah,
game,
yeah,
and
yeah.
yeah, and I did a good bit of writing in it, and on just various different things. I don't know if you've got that game or played or seen it, but making those were extremely challenging. I mean, you have to mechanically of just doing numbers and stuff and seeing how that's going to work. But then, like you said, like things that backfire, manifestations, how but it allows you to be very creative, like
Mhm.
especially with Goodman Games and like with Dave with Weird Frontiers. It's just like just be creative. And when you give it to Dave, he's like, yeah, this is awesome. Like you
Yeah,
thought outside the bubble. You're not held back by anything. You created something really cool and kind of crazy. And is a lot of fun to
One
work
of the
with.
things I
That
love
gets,
about the DCC Adventures as well,
yeah,
the Goodman game, and there's a lot of places doing this, is like how like not handholdy they are.
yeah,
They
Yep.
like give the GM the bones of the information, and it's like, okay, there you go. You know, and I'm guilty of this as well. I'll overwrite when I'm writing an adventure. I'm like, here's some read aloud text. Here's this. If the players do this, this happens. If the players do this, this happens. If the
right.
players, like, you know, I go way too much. But then I was reading recently, Mothership, and was it another Bug Hunt. Have you played Mothership?
I'm
I'm
not playing.
aware. I'm aware of it.
Oh, Mothership is so good. It's a horror game, kind of in the vibes of Alien.
Yeah,
The system is really good. I love the card sheet, but the adventures are so tight. It's you're going to a location to explore it, and it's just bullets and nested bullets. So it's
yep,
like bullets for this stuff, and then if they investigate, here's some more nested bullets, and that's it. And
yeah.
it's like it
Oh,
kind of
that's
just it
awesome.
trusts the GM. You have to like I don't know if I'd hand it to a brand new GM to do it, but you know
No,
if you're an
Right.
experienced GM, it just trusts them. Like here's the important information you need. You can figure it out. You know,
That's
like
that's
it's
so
so
hard
good.
to do. I'm guilty of the same thing. I've talked to Brandon about this, and like I overwrite the same way, and I'm just like, and I'm reading, and I have little like things that I want to read the players, and I, this and it's almost like it's you have to. It's like, am I railroading the players, which I don't want to do psychologically. I
Mm,
don't want to do that, but also I want to tell the story and have them in it. But I've always like super admired people that literally are like, you know what, the bullet points is great.
Love it.
It's because
yeah,
it forces you. It's oftentimes that stuff's better than whatever you're gonna write. Whatever they come up with and you come up with on the spot, it just kind of organically
yeah,
happens.
Yeah,
yeah.
there's a lot of there's obviously a lot of different directions to go with that stuff. So like games like Merc Borg, and I know Old School Essentials, they have a lot of, and I've done videos on all these products, and I love the way that Merc Borg describes adventure like locations and stuff, and I use that for my Pocket Fantasy, and then the Old School Essentials does that. But I get feedback from people from my videos, and I'll have people say I don't like it like that, and then I'll have people say kind of the opposite. They think that Goodman Games overwrites their adventures. So it's
Mm,
like some people, it's a difficult balance. You really just got to kind of choose your own. But I will say that doing lots of products, I do typically enjoy more that very bare bones, description. I like bold words.
yeah,
I like stuff that is easy to read and just quickly look at it. But I think it's like you said, you don't want to probably give that to a new
yeah.
person that's
But
running
you have to
games.
know your you have to know who your audience is. You know,
Yeah.
like when I was designing Age of Sigmar Soulbound, we knew that so we had two audiences in that. That was um people who play Age of Sigmar and want to try an RPG, and then it was like brand new people coming to RPG. So it was for new people playing RPGs, basically. So that is written very kind of handholdy, I suppose. There's lots of references in it. It's very explained, kind of step by step, and everything like that. But then when we were doing Imperial Maledictum for Cubicle 7, which was like their new 40k D100, kind of inspired by Dark Heresy, we're like, okay, our audience for this is people who've played Dark Heresy. You
Mm,
know, and there's some assumptions you can make there as well, where you don't need to handle, and it's also okay, and or it's people we know 40k. We
yeah,
don't really need to explain the Imperium of Man to them, like that kind of thing. But in Age of Sigmar, I was like, okay, well, here's the gods, here's how everything works, because it's a big weird place as well. It was meant as an entry point, but for
yeah.
something like Imperium Maledictum, you can kind of guarantee the people reading it they already have massive buy-in to that setting. So it's
Mm,
just kind of knowing who your audience is, really.
That's an interesting aspect that that would. Yeah, I think a lot of times when I look at games like when I looked at fifth edition first, I was like, this is very wordy. There's just page after page of just, and I'm like, they're it's not laid out in a way that I was started to get used to from other games. So it was kind of like I was kind of apprehensive of it, and I was like,
Mm,
these other games are kind of they're giving me some I don't know, just different layouts. I just think it's interesting as we can see as we go on, different things are coming out layout wise, and it's cool that you brought up like kind of your history. I want to make sure that we hit this subject, but like, how did you get started with role playing games? From your actually playing yourself in your own house or friends and stuff to becoming where you're working for Cubicle 7. Like what was your journey like?
Yeah, so it's funny you should mention AD&D actually, because two things happened around the same time when I was about 13. And one was my sister gave me Dragons of Autumn Twilight, the first Dragonlance book.
Yeah.
And I got Baldur's Gate 1 for
Nice.
PC.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh, what is this? Like I read Dragonlance before I read Lord of the Rings.
Yeah.
To the point where I started reading Lord of the Rings, like, this dude ripped off Dragonlance.
Sorry.
I was like,
Oh my
there's something underneath the mine and the palanquin
Yeah.
and stuff
Yeah.
like that. Yeah. But
Those books are very influential. Extremely
yeah,
influential.
so it was Baldur's Gate 1, so the original Baldur's Gate, and for younger people watching, like it came on like 5 discs,
Yeah.
like CDs that you had to put in and everything like that. But that was also at a time when games came with big booklets.
Mhm.
And the Baldur's Gate booklet was pretty chunky, and it was basically the AD&D rules in it. So what I did, and this is like this is like my claim to like my cred or whatever, it was like I basically took the AD&D rules in Baldur's Gate and reverse engineered them so that we could sit down around a table and play Dungeons and Dragons.
That's great.
So I took like the rules from Baldur's Gate, the first one, and sat down and play that, because where I am in Ireland, I'm a bit south of Dublin. I'm in Kildare, and Dublin is like the big city, the big smoke as we call it, and that would have been the only one that would have had like game shops, like your local game shop.
Right.
And that was like an hour and a half away on the train or drive or whatever. So there was nowhere to buy like nerd stuff anywhere near me, you know? So we didn't have that. But then like kind of we started playing that, and then some of my friends, they had other friends. I think actually there was one of my friend group had a friend who was American, and he had moved around a lot. I think maybe his dad was in the army or something, so he'd been in America, he'd been in Australia, that kind of stuff. And he had books, like he had like Innomine and a couple other things like that, and they were like more gateways that we played in, like World of Darkness and stuff.
Love it.
So that was how we got them, but like we couldn't actually go to a shop and buy stuff, you know, like that was it. And then like as we got older, I was like, oh, now we can buy. So then we bought third edition, and we had all the third edition books, but I never actually had any of the second edition books, but we played a ton of second edition just by using Baldur's Gate. I bought it later when I was at like Essen a few years ago. I was like, there was like the AD&D Player's Handbook. I was like, I need that. So
I got to do this.
That's crazy.
That's great.
Yeah, that was kind of how I started. And then after that, like played everything. Played a ton of third edition. Played Pathfinder. Played any of the stuff that was popular in the 90s, like Vampire. Played Innomine. Then fourth edition. Then kind of we fell out playing for a while and kind of went to board games. And then came back around fifth edition, and then just played tons of stuff since then. So like all the stuff you can see back there, Numenera, Art, like everything.
Our shelves.
Yeah. And I'm actually they're like too deep, like of books that I can't even see anymore and stuff like that. But then the actual work wise, what happened was, so I went to college for video games, and then it was basically like the course I did was very general. So there was coding, there was 3D modeling, there was actual game design, all that kind of stuff.
In Ireland?
Yeah. It was one of the first ones they did, so I think I was the first year doing it, so it was a bit ad hoc. So I did that, and I was like, you need to specialize. So there was a very well-regarded animation course in the same college, Ballyfermot College. I went and did animation, and I was doing animation because I wanted to be a concept artist for Square. That's what I wanted to do.
Good.
That was my goal at Squaresoft before it was Square Enix.
Yeah, Squaresoft, yeah.
Oh,
yeah. And then I got to college and I realized everyone was way better at drawing than I was.
Oops.
Yeah. But I ended up like, as we do with the 4 years, and we had to do like a film and stuff like that. And I kind of fell into managing that. I was quite good at animation. I wasn't a good draftsman. I was good at 3D modeling and I'm good at animation, but I was also good at organization. So I had to like wrangle the 4 college students to make a project. And then after that, I left college and I joined an animation company. Then I joined like an app mobile company, and that was going not great. It was like a startup, and it was kind of like peaks and troughs, and some months you wouldn't get paid and some months you would get paid, kind of thing.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
And then as that was happening, my mate sent me a text. He's like, hey, this job listing just came up. Actually before that, I started publishing on DM's Guild. That was it.
Okay.
I writing events and publishing on DM's Guild, because the job I was working, I had so much free time. I was basically doing it while I was working the job or in my spare time. And it was a creative outlet, because I was the work I was doing was like
soul crushing.
Yeah, so I was like, I need a creative outlet, so I started doing that. Um, that job was the only way I got through like season 1 of Critical Role, because I could just sit there and have it on my second monitor and watch it. Basically. But yeah, I started publishing on the DMs Guild, and I kind of got into that community, which was really vibrant as it started up.
Right.
About 2018 or so. Lots of really cool people have gone on to do great things. So yeah, I started self-publishing and things like that. And then yeah, my mate texted me. He's like, "Hey, this job just came up," and I opened it, and it was for like a tabletop role-playing games producer. Producer for tabletop role-playing games in Ireland. I was like, "What? That can't be real!" Like my job was producer. I was a producer in the game company. I'd been a producer in the animation studio, and I was writing RPGs in my spare time. So I was like, this is literally the perfect job for me.
It's
Uh,
yours.
yeah, so I applied for that, and I got the job, and I joined Cubicle 7, and I was given 2 lines to start with. So I was given The Lord of the Rings,
Oof.
and I was given Age of Sigmar.
Wow.
Warhammer Fantasy was already taken, and they didn't have 40k yet. And Doctor Who, I think someone was doing Doctor Who at the time as well. But I got Lord of the Rings, and I got Age of Sigmar, which was quite daunting. At first, the Lord of the Rings stuff was grand, because it was mostly, they were still converting the One Ring, the first edition, to Adventures in Middle Earth, so it was converting it to 5e. And then the Age of Sigmar was literally, hey, design us a game in this setting, and it was first edition Age of Sigmar as well.
Yeah.
So that's how I started, how I got the job at Cubicle 7. So that was my my history of actually getting into table RPG. It was a perfect storm, but it was literally my mate messaged me, and it happened to be the perfect job for me. But one thing I say, like, if people want to get into it, is like self-publishing. It's like, just get something done and get something out there and do what you can. It kind of became a bit of an arms race later with the DMs Guild. It was wild, the amount of money people were spending on it. But when I started, it was literally like, I wrote it, I did the layout, I drew some maps, I got some stock art, and I put out some adventures, like, and they did fine, and it really helped me figure out like doing adventure structure and all that kind of stuff. And I was in kind of at the ground floor, and there was nice people around at the time as well. So that was kind of how that started. And then yeah, we worked on Age of Sigmar, and I got Jared to do the map for that, which was
I did the Age
amazing.
of Sigmar map, which is
Yeah.
a joy to do.
Yeah, no, it was so good. That was great.
I'm actually reading that rule book now because I actually want to run a game of Age of Sigmar,
Oh,
and I finally gotten fully into Warcry. And like, I used to poo poo Age of Sigmar because
yeah.
me and everybody else and every fucking 40-year-old is like, screw Games
Yeah.
Workshop for destroying it, and then
Yeah.
they replace it, and there was like, what's this Age of Sigmar crap? And they didn't really support it that much, but they did, and they really have fleshed out the world. And after reading a lot of the lore and stuff, I think Age of Sigmar is amazing. I love the lore. It's
I
like the
love
epic
Age
of,
of Sigmar so much.
it's so cool. It's the epic of Gilgamesh. It's like
Mm.
it's all like our, like, humanity's like mythos,
Yeah,
and they
yeah,
kind of converted that into their own setting, and it really is a really cool setting. And I love the hopeful aspect of it. I love the
yeah,
Stormcast. I love the it doesn't shy away from or make excuses for it being high fantasy, because it feels like an age of legend. And
yeah,
that I like. That it's just like, that's fine. It's not the same as like something like 5e where it's just high magic because it is. This is like, no. Like, they are leaning into this, and you're building the world as you're playing in it. And I really kind of love that. So, and I love the rules. I got my contributor copy, my collector's edition contributor copy. So then I finally cracked it open.
yeah.
I finally cracked it open, and my buddies and I got heavily into Warcry like the last year, and I've been painting miniatures and stuff. And I was like, let me kind of look into it. And I was like, dude, I'm liking what I'm seeing. I really like the rule set. I think it's very different. It's different
Yeah.
enough that I'm like, okay, this could totally work. So
Yeah.
I
No,
started.
I'm really proud of it. Like, generally, Age of Sigmar. I love Age of Sigmar. I'm super proud of Soulbound. While we, the system that I designed, and what we did with that and everything like that. And then you have Champions of Chaos, Champions of Death, Champions of Order, Champions of Destruction. And I know Cubicle 7 are releasing Champions of Chaos, which I actually started work on in like 4 years ago or something like that, I think. But yeah, no, and that was one of the things, actually, because I know you mentioned Morkborg, and I like Morkborg, like what they've done. I don't like playing Morkborg for the same reason I don't really like 40k, which is that it's just relentlessly miserable.
Yeah,
Like there
yeah,
is
it's
Yeah.
no
really
hope to it.
it's
Whereas Age of
really
Sigmar
brutal.
has hope, and you know what I try and have in Beyond the Woods and other stuff I've done is that there's always that element of hope, and that you can actually make things better. It's not completely
Miserable.
awful. Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
Oh, sorry,
I
Brandon.
really, I really for Merc for me, what really got me was, and this is some stuff that me and Jared have talked about too, is I thought that the aspect of Merc that I really liked was the fact that the world was going to die and like how are you going to live out the last days
Mm,
and it makes me think if you really want to get into the game instead of just playing an adventure and say I play Merc, but it's like are you going to be a good person at the end or are you just going to drink and just steal kill and just pillage and just live it up and so I always like these kind of interesting like kind of moral dilemmas like something of that caliber and I'd never really seen it and it was like okay this book is fancy it's got a lot of crazy fonts and it's doing a bunch of crazy art and then all of a sudden when I read it I was like wow that's actually pretty neat like how exactly would you play your character if you
mm.
knew that in the next couple days it's going to all be over so but I definitely see what you're saying about kind of the dreariness. And there's a lot of that.
Yeah.
Obviously, there's tons of games that are just like nihilistic
Well,
and it's just
I was
doom.
gonna ask Brandon because you're pretty fluent. Like, when did that trend really begin? In I would say specifically in RPG stuff because obviously it's been around since 40K, right? The grim dark. Although
Right.
40K now leans into instead of it being a joke, a societal joke, which is what 40K began as. Now it fully it's like people don't even realize that it's a joke. It's now what it
Mm.
is. Which is the 40K has got a lot to offer. I think it's cool, and even Warhammer Fantasy kind of had that. Although it always, I felt like it was different than 40K because it had more of an element of hope, even though they destroyed the world. Um, but where do you think it started? Like where was it?
I would say that I mean, I might not be 100%, truthful on this. I believe some OSR guys had a very there's some fellas that really started making some products that were very artistically interesting, very different, and then they wanted to really I think they were just tired of everything else and they really kind of searched inside for some real imagination and said, let's go to some dark, weird places. And I know I did a video on one of them, and it completely escapes me now, and it's called like Death Sun, something or Black Sun, and it was pretty much like the sun is killing you. You've got to dig into the earth to survive, and like that bleakness. And people literally they would message me and be like, "This is a wild idea." And but I would never play that. So it was I think it was a lot of that type of mentality when it came to some OSR people because I think they really started pushing some alternative thinking when it comes to really every aspect of encounters, NPCs, and then they started thinking about like what type of is the world, like what is going on in it, and they just really kind of reached to some dark places I think in their head and I can't say exactly where that was, but that was one thing that really stood out to me because I was like, that's bleak, man. I mean, you're literally going to die unless you dig into the earth. And then the things that you'll come across, it's called Black Sun Death Crawl for DCC RPG. And that was one of the ones, granted, that was DCC and people were making some stuff before that, but I really just think that's kind of where a lot of that stuff started coming from was some very creative people. And because of how we're able to make products now and get them out there through stuff like good through like drive through RPG or whatever, these things were able to kind of come alive. And then people kind of they saw it, they saw they were kind of writing on the wall and went, yeah, that's a cool aspect that I'm going to go to.
Mm,
So I would probably say that that's definitely one. And I've literally got people that comment are like, yeah, this is incredible, but I'm never playing that. That's just too bleak.
Yeah,
I was like,
yeah,
you don't want to crawl amongst the maggots into the
yeah,
ground.
I wonder if it's like something like I remember playing Werewolf.
Yeah,
And that was back in the late '90s, 2000, early 2000s,
yeah,
and that
right
the
there.
world was yeah the world was dying, right? I
Yeah,
mean, basically, that is a sorrowful tale. We played
yeah.
a lot of Werewolf. I didn't play Wraith
Wraith
or
is Wraith is
Mage.
rough.
I've heard they're all great, but I will
Yeah,
say, like, I feel like maybe the creative guys that you're talking about that wrote that stuff maybe got influenced, maybe even from stuff like Dark Sun,
yeah.
some
Dark Sun's pretty
AD&D
brutal.
stuff, pretty brutal, or Eberron. It's kind of apocalyptic.
Yeah,
I don't know if it was written. I didn't personally play Eberron or Dark Sun.
mm-mm.
Um, I don't know if
Dark
it was quite so
Dark Sun's brutal. I mean, it's
Yeah,
definitely
Dark brutal.
brutal.
Everyone's a bit more like, yeah,
hopeful, right?
Magitech kind of bit of Age of Sigmar actually, with like the blending of magic and technology and stuff.
Yeah, the
There's
Caradron, right? The dwarves,
yeah,
Caradron overlords. Yeah.
space dwarves. Yeah, give me them. Love them.
You know what I like too about that book is I've talked about this multiple times. I am a sycophant for Birthright, the AD&D setting.
Love
And
it.
what I
Love it.
like that you guys put into the Age of Sigmar base book. I don't have. I got to buy all the other books. I don't have any of them. I just have the core collector's edition, which is a fucking beautiful book. A
Yeah, it came out so good.
beautiful book, and I don't say that very
The
often.
artists who worked in that I'm working with now, like because I loved working with them on it. Like,
It is just a beautiful book. But what's cool about it is I really appreciate it because it has a lot of adventure seeds in there. You go to the different sections, the different factions, the different thing, and you're like, hey, this is what's going on. These are rumors that's happening. This is a little adventure that you can maybe go on. But they're here, and everything's open ended, and it gives you a flavor from every single, like there's like what, 7 realms, right? And they're like infinite realms, and basically, but even in there, like there's just the base book is giving you adventure seeds on like, hey, check this out, and then it's up to the DM to interpret that and make something out of it. And I was like, as soon as I started reading that, I was like, fuck yes. Excuse my language, but this is so that's those are the player secrets. If you've ever picked up a player
yeah,
secrets, a Birthright, that's how those books were written. And it was just like, this is what's going on. These are some politics, local things. This guy's doing this guild is doing this is what the rumors are. And then they're like, here you go. And the
yeah.
DM can just take it and make an entire thing. And I really appreciate that kind of
No, there's
writing.
some really great stuff in that. Like I did most of the mechanical writing in that, so like I think pretty much like the first half of the book, any of the mechanical stuff I did. But then there was we got a couple of the Black Library writers wrote some stuff in there as well,
Oh, cool.
and then T.S. Lucart, who I worked with for a few years, really great. He was great for doing all that kind of seed stuff. We worked together on the starter set as well. Came up with Bright Spear, which is the city in that. I was obviously playing a lot of Final Fantasy at the time because there's like an upper tier and a lower tier and stuff like that. And then that is now on the official Age of Sigmar maps, which is sick. Like it was, it's literally a city we just invented, and it's now like canon, which is like
That's
the
so
coolest thing ever.
badass.
Like,
That's awesome.
but yeah, there's tons of that kind of stuff. I love all that kind of stuff. Yeah, yeah, absolutely.
That's great. I want to definitely make sure we talk about the Kickstarter.
Yeah.
It was successful for you. How do you feel it went? Was this your first Kickstarter? Doing it with yourself, your own company, and kind of tell us about the process that you went through. If you had any difficulties with it, like where it's at right now. And I know people can maybe they've got where they can do like late backers, or
Yeah,
and of course we'll have links, for people if they want to go check it out.
yeah. So I left Cubicle 7 probably about a year ago. I think it was July last year. I left
Mhm.
and founded Old Oak. I would think I was with Cubicle 7 for about 5 years, and it was really good and everything, but it was kind of looking down the line and knowing what was coming,
Mhm.
because stuff was planned out for years. I was like, I wasn't massively excited about
Mhm.
what I was going to be working on. The between the license or whatever I was going to work on, I wasn't massively excited about it. So I was like, okay. I chatted to my wife, my partner, and I was like, look, it's kind of now or never, like kind of
Yeah.
thing. I've always had ideas and stuff. So I was like, okay, well, let's go. And I left and founded the company. But so the goal was to launch Beyond the Woods in March, which was the Irish inspired fantasy setting. March around Paddy's Day to try and wrap up in some of that Irishness.
Sure.
Um,
Very good.
yeah,
Good
yeah.
choice.
There's actually a lot of good supports over here for startups. So when I left Cubicle 7, I had my own stuff. I started working on the Kickstarter straight away. So I had worked. It was the first Kickstarter we did as Old Oak Games, but I'd worked on multiple Kickstarters in the past. I think
Okay.
the ones I worked on for Cubicle 7 raised. I think there's 3 or 4 of them raised about 600 grand or something like that. All in. So a couple of 5e ones and some other ones, and I managed a lot of those kind of through from start to finish, planned out the page, all that kind of stuff. So I knew how to do everything.
Great.
So I started planning that. Like I rather than plan the book straight away, I knew what I wanted in the book. I started planning the Kickstarter and work backwards. Like, so I was like, okay, I need X amount of art, so I need to start doing that art straight away. It's like, I need the map. The map is vital, so I need to contact someone I trust to do the map. And Jared. So yeah, that was a big thing, getting that done and getting all the art. I'm working with a lot of the artists I've worked with in the past because I knew like people buy with their eyes. It has to look good.
Yes,
You know,
it does.
it was as simple as that. So I work backwards, and then plan out the book more in detail and everything like that. But yeah, there's a lot of supports over here for startups. So there's a program over here called New Frontiers, which is for there's different stages to it. But I started in phase 2, which is you basically get 6 months and you're down doing kind of a course essentially on Tuesdays and Thursdays. They help you do like business plans, like
This
projections.
is offered by the government.
Yeah. And they pay you. So they pay you like 2.5 grand a month for 6 months to do this. And you get people in talking to other entrepreneurs, all this kind of stuff. I did this for 6 months, and which was brilliant, all while I was planning for the Kickstarter. So it started in October and it ended at the end of March. And I launched the Kickstarter in the middle of March. So it was perfect for me. So I had that kind of all the way through. I had that support and chatting to people because like starting your own company is lonely. I was here for a couple of months. When I left C7 and it was July, August, and my wife is a teacher, she was off school, the kids were off school, so there's people around, which it's hard to get work done, but at least there's people around. And then they went back to school, and I was like, oh, I'm just literally here in my office by myself all day now. So yeah, actually starting New Frontiers was great because you're going and you're talking like 10 or 15 other entrepreneurs, what they're going through, completely different things, and I kept having to explain what exactly this was, and no one had any idea. Like video games? No.
What is that? You play those? Is that Nintendo? What is that?
Yeah. I brought the books in, and people were like, "Oh, okay." So yeah, I did that for a few months, and then we launched a Kickstarter in March. I had all my projections done like from the start. I was like, okay, I have X amount of tiers. I knew from previous Kickstarters that I'd done where people generally fell. Like you get about 30% will go digital only, like 50-60% will go physical, or they'll go at different tiers, and then like 5 to 8% will go for the fancy collector's edition. So I worked out the prices on those. I worked out the percentages that people will go for different ones, and then I had a spreadsheet that I would calculate. So like, okay, if I only get 500 backers, if I get 1,000 backers, if I get 1,500 backers, where does that leave me with costs, print costs, profit, all that kind of stuff? So I did all that. I think my target to like do everything I want to do and launch the company and all that kind of stuff was, I think, 1,500 backers, I think, which would have been low. That would have like been like a salary for me and everything like that.
Yeah.
And I think that would have equated to about 150,000. We could do way less than that. Between what I had myself, like personal savings and government help and all that kind of stuff. I think the minimum was maybe like 500 or something. I can't remember exactly what it was. But it finished on 208,000. Absolutely shot up in the last 24, 48 hours. So it did way better than I expected it to.
That's great.
Which is fantastic. That was great. So it's 2 books you can kind of see in the picture there. There's the core book, which is like the rules, and it gives a bit about the setting. But the core book is basically if you want to play a hex crawl game in 5e, you can play in any setting with this book. It's like all you need is a map with a hex grid. It has classes, it has all the rules, everything like that. It doesn't actually need the setting guide. It has some stuff about the setting and that kind of stuff, but you can literally just play with that, and that was available by itself. And then the setting guide is about 200 pages, and that has loads of information on the city of Caed Darroch, the world of Tir Nascath, more adventures, more encounters, more stuff about the world, more monsters, and then it has like 5 or 6 complete adventures, I think, in it. So the core book is actually, I just finished writing it this week. The first 8 chapters have gone out to backers, so there's 10 chapters. First 8 chapters have gone out to backers, fully edited, fully laid out, everything like that. There's 2 more chapters left. I should have those done in the next few weeks, and I'm diving into the setting guide now, but we have pretty much all the adventures in for that already, so there's probably about 50,000 words left to write on that, so it'll probably take about 2 months, I would say. To do that. So hopefully hoping to have the print files, the PDF files ready by the end of the year or early next year.
Do you
and
have any
then
crew, or do you have any editors or anything? It's just you.
I've written all the core book, and then I have an editor, Ben Doherty, another Irish guy working on it, and then I've like all the artists are freelance. All the the editors freelance. The company is me. Like it's literally just me.
Right, right, right.
When I say we, I mean me.
Yeah, no
But,
doubt.
but yeah, so but like I've like a team of freelancers, like a lot of people I've worked with in the past or people that I trust. So the writing is done. That's gone off to editing. I'm doing the layout myself because I really like doing layout, and I'm very particular about stuff, so it just saves time.
Yeah.
And then yeah, we've all the art coming in, and then it'll go to I've just gone to the editor, it'll go into layout, and then it'll go to a proofreader separately, and then I'll start sending it up to the print partners, and they can tell me what I've messed up, and I'll fix all those and try and get it printed by early
Yeah.
next year, and hopefully
Little
have it
tweaks.
for Gen Con next year. Hopefully,
Oh, that would be great.
So
Yeah.
much fucking work.
Yeah, it
yeah,
is a
it's a
lot of
lot.
work.
Yeah,
I mean, you're like I'm just astonished that you're sane, considering
yeah,
how much work it really is.
it is. Yeah, but I mean, and I when I used to like manage some of the crew in C7, you can love what you do and it can still be stressful as all hell. Do you know, you caught me at a good time because I finished the writing on the core book this week, so I'm
That's
like,
good.
it's done. But now I am facing directly into another book that I have to write. Um,
Yeah.
but
Never ends.
yeah,
Another
but
barrel.
I'm very lucky, with what I do. It's I could be doing this or I could be going off to do some mind-numbing job somewhere and have to commute, but like I get to be home every day when my kids get here and everything like that, so it's worth the stress. And the fact that so many people literally gave you money and
Yeah.
put their faith in you to go and make it, like that's
Yeah,
massive. Like you do feel that pressure and that responsibility to get it to people.
sure.
Sure.
But it's really exciting to get it out to people as well.
I mean,
It's one of the
it must be exciting to have like your expression too. Like this is obviously like this is your setting. This is obviously connected to your background, like your nationality, but like where you
Heritage.
live and like your folklore and like all that stuff. It's so interesting to see. Like it's nice to see an Irishman doing an Irish setting. I've
yeah.
seen other people do Irish stuff, but it's always like I don't know. It's always just kind of cool to see. It's like no, this is like a local like.
That was part of it as well. Like the drivers were like, okay, well, in my head it was like Forbidden Lands for 5e as well, but it's also I want there to be an Irish setting made by an Irish person. Like
Yeah.
there's some stuff on drive through that's like it looks fine. It's not made by an Irish person.
Yeah.
It's not made by Irish people. And there was a Kickstarter a couple of years ago that was like it was just so like the worst Irish stereotypes. It was like a leprechaun
Pot of
and
golds
a
everywhere.
rainbow and a pot of gold and
You're
like this
stepping in
big
pots of gold everywhere.
movie redhead on the cover and stuff like that. And they made like 250 grand in
Wow.
fairness to them. So,
Just make your
um,
kiss the Blarney Stone roll.
yeah.
Okay.
So it was
Kissing the Blarney Stone.
yeah, like Ireland. I fully believe Ireland could stand toe to toe with like Norse mythology and Greek and Roman and all that. There's so much depth to it. We have all those myths and we have all those legends, and it could absolutely. So it's just like that a bit more of a genuine representation to it. Now, a lot of the Irish myths and legends have been fragmented and lost because of our history and being invaded relentlessly by different people. um, but there's so much there. Like if you look at like the success of Vikings, which is filmed in Ireland, like if you could make an Irish style show like that, but it was to try and introduce a lot of a lot of people might know some of the Irish myths, like Cuchulainn has appeared in so much stuff. There was like Japanese games Cuchulainn used to be in, which is like Cuchulainn is the Hound of Cullen, which is one of our most famous legends. I don't know if you guys know it, but he was a warrior called Satanta. There's a couple of different stories about it. He was going to essentially a party, and he got there late, and the man whose house it was Cullen. His dog attacked him, but Cuchulainn, who was Satanta at the time, was coming from playing hurling, which is an Irish sport,
Mm-hmm.
which is like a bat and a ball. And the dog tried to attack him, and he hit what's called a schlitter down the dog's throat and killed him. So then he swore to be Cullen's new hound, so he became Cuchulainn, which was the Hound of Cullen, to guard his property and stuff like that. Like that's one of our most famous ones, but there's so many, and there's so many fucking weird ones as well out there. And just random folk tales and strangeness and stuff that I wanted to try and get into the book and kind of introduce to people, and hopefully, like, as tacky as it sounds, inspire people to go and have a look and see,
Yeah.
hey, here's some other cool stuff you could read. There's some really interesting weirdness, like a whole war fought over this cow who was incredibly fertile. Like, that's great. That's so good. That's so good. Like,
That's fantastic.
I mean, that's the thing. It's like, if you're going to tell me about like the history of like American, like, you know, folklore type stuff, did you have to like, all right, I got to brush up on my Irish folklore, you know, or was it just like, we're Irish, we all know it, you know what I mean? It's like, we know it
no,
100%.
yeah. No, absolutely. Like, a lot of people would know it, but I think, again, kind of, we were chatting beforehand, but like in the west of Ireland, there'd be much more a tie to that. I'm on the east coast, which is closer to England. So basically, like, when England invaded, a lot of Irish people were sent to the west, you know, and that's where a lot of the Irishness kind of went. There's still a lot of people over there who speak Irish, and a lot of the old stories are still over there, but they're less so kind of over here. I always enjoyed them, but it's not like we learned them in school or anything. You know,
Right.
if you had an older, like, my granny was from Connemara, and she'd sometimes tell you stories or sing songs, or like they'd warn you about some stuff, and there's a lot, you know, superstitious stuff. But I had to go and pick up some stuff. And I knew bits and bobs here and there, but like these two, I think you'd see the red and the gold one. They're the like the be all and end all. Really, they're see if I get them. Lady Augusta Gregory did those, but they're like, yeah, Irish myths and legends. So that's Gods and Fighting Men, and then this one is Cuchulainn and the Red Branch of Ulster. So, and my collector's editions are the same color, kind of to inspired
That's
by
cool. Yeah, that's really cool.
that. But my actual Irish language, we all learn Irish in school theoretically, but my actual Irish language is really bad. I'm actually really bad at Irish.
It's Irish Gaelic, is that what it's called?
Gaelga, yeah.
Gaelic, yeah.
Gaelga, yeah. I'm actually very bad at it. So my kids speak better Irish than me, and they're like 6 and 9. You know, like my Irish, whatever it is, the way it was taught in school, my school that I went to, I don't know, they were just bad at teaching Irish, and I was bad. I was a bad student, obviously. But my Irish isn't great. So, but thankfully, my wife is a teacher, and she has access to a lot of other teachers who know a lot of Irish. So, and there's a couple of really good websites that you use and try and figure it out and try and bring a bit to it. Even so, trying to use a lot of language, and there's a pronunciation guide in the back of the book that shows
Thank you
but
so
also,
much. I was going to ask you that question. I was
yeah,
like,
yeah.
please. I didn't want to put you on the spot and be like, you'd be like,
Please.
oh no, I never thought of that. Oh,
Yeah.
it's ruined now. I'll be like, I'm gonna have a lot of hard problems because I
It's
tell
like
my
4
people.
pages long at the moment. Like, it's like
Great.
it has either like the translation or where the inspiration come from. If it's, you know, because like when you look at it, if you speak English and you've never encountered Irish, it does make no sense. Like
Right.
Saoirse Ronan pops up on telly and trying to explain how her name sounds, and then you have Diarmid and Neve, and like, but Neve is like Niamh, so the MH is a V sound kind of thing,
Oof.
you know.
Just run away from that. Yeah.
Yeah, but also as well, there's a couple of good websites, but depending on where you go in Ireland, it'll be pronounced differently because
Understood.
there's Connacht, Ulster, and Munster Irish. So there's 4 provinces, 4 big provinces in Ireland. There's the Connacht, Ulster, Munster, and Leinster. Leinster's where I am, which is where all the English were. So we don't have our own dialect, but you have Connacht, Ulster, and Munster. And there's websites you can go to, and you can listen to each of them pronounce the word, and they'll pronounce it 3 different ways. Do you know?
Wow.
Like,
That's
so,
challenging. We have some stuff here in America too. It was like, how do y'all pronounce that over there? You know, or
yeah,
like they call it this, and I've got the Banish the Snakes board game. So all the stuff you're talking about, I'm like, oh, I know that place. I've seen it. I've seen it in the game. You
yeah.
know,
It's
but,
interesting to see how much of the Irish, I suppose, pagan or, you know, Druid beliefs were kind of like Christianized. Is that the right word?
right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Christianized.
Go for it.
Because there's Saint Bridget here in Kildare. She's the patron saint of Kildare. But there's also Bridget or Brige was this pagan goddess.
Oh.
And a lot of the stories line up where like she
Okay.
was this goddess of healing and protection and all this kind of thing. And then like that was just that, like the Catholic Church went whoop plop.
You're
Now we have
ours
a new
now.
saint. So there's a
Yeah.
lot of really interesting stuff like that as well. You know, about how that happened. And digging into that is, you know, really really interesting.
I was going to ask just from like, because Tolkien was really big into this, making language literally like a part of like the world, a part of magic, like his words of command. That was a big. That's a
Mm.
big thing in mythology and Norse mythology and stuff. Or the
Yeah.
runes. Runes are the ancient language. They are literally like words of power. Is that and the language and stuff? Is that factored into like Beyond the Woods, like into the setting itself? Like, do words have that kind of power? You know what I mean? Like, I don't know.
Yeah, we have there's a spell I wrote actually the other day, which is you have to know the person's true name for it to work. But
Mm,
it's basically you inscribe it on a sword, and that sword does double damage to them forever, like in a very D&D kind of way, do you know? But
Sure.
so in the setting, the people they speak common, but it is Gaeilge in the setting.
mm.
But then there was the old tongue, which is, and even I don't know how to pronounce this, Gidelk, I think it's pronounced. Which is, if you've ever seen Ohm writing, have you ever seen Ohm? If you go on the Kickstarter and look at the
Uh,
book, Ohm, it's like it's a vertical line and then it's like slashes and lines through it. It's kind
huh.
of like a runic alphabet that used to be the old Irish alphabet for literally for old Irish and for like the pre-old Irish language, and it was carved into stone markers, and you read it from bottom to top,
Oh
and there
wow.
are certain letters that are don't exist in it and things like that, so you can't do a direct translation. Um, so that stuff is really interesting. I had that all in the book down the side. You'll see like on the left there's Ohm, and that's Har na Cuilche, which is beyond the woods. So Har na Cuilche is Irish for beyond the woods, and
That's
that'll be down
great.
the left, and then down the right side will be the name of the chapter or whatever that
Oh,
is.
that's the what you had me lay in the borders, right?
Yeah,
Yes.
exactly, yeah.
Yeah, I didn't know exactly what it said because
Yeah,
it is
that's
like you
Ohm.
said,
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
very vertical. Like when you look at it, you're like, it's almost like reverse elongated like Sanskrit,
Yeah,
right?
yeah. And sometimes you will
And
get it
like,
written sideways, but it should be bottom to top.
yeah,
That's another thing as well, actually, when you dig into, and I address this in the book as well. When you dig into it, you can see how much of Irish mythology has just been lifted and put into other stuff. Like Ohm was created by Ogma, which is the god from the Forgotten Realms.
Oh wow.
oh, okay,
But it's actually, you know,
Yeah.
was an
Maybe.
Irish god or demigod of the Tuatha Dé, so the gods of Ireland before. So there's so much of that. Mananan, I never know how to, which is like Manan from like Warhammer Fantasy, and a lot of
Yeah.
other stuff is like that's an Irish god of the sea. You know, so it's kind of like a lot of that stuff, and obviously the Banshee is one as well, and the
Of course.
Headless Horseman is the Dulacan. You know, there's so much. And Samhain is Halloween. We literally invented Halloween over here.
Right.
Like, so
well,
there's
I'm
loads of that.
assuming that's because like one, you have UK companies making stuff, and then you have our America. Our ancestors are from the UK, right? A lot
Yeah,
of them. So I would
yeah,
assume that
absolutely,
we
yeah,
would continue with the same traditions, and we're the United States is such a powerhouse for like creative culture, you know, because we spend a lot on luxuries, I guess.
yeah,
Yeah,
But
we do.
you know, and I guess that's kind of like our folk tales and stuff are mashed in with our ancestors, right? So I think I would assume that's why there's a lot of that. I mean,
yeah,
it's a rich crop, right? I mean, there's just so much rich stuff, like you said, to pull
yeah.
from.
Have you ever seen like original like jack o' lanterns? What they're supposed to be?
I don't
Because like
think so.
obviously in the states they're pumpkins,
Yeah.
but they're
Yeah,
originally turnips.
Oh, okay.
Way
that
more
makes
horrifying. Way more horrifying. Like, 'cause, like you don't get pumpkins over here, you
I'm
get turnips.
searching.
And
I'm
then
searching.
when Irish people moved to America, they couldn't get turnips, so they're like, "Oh, we'll carve it into pumpkins." So
I'm looking at pictures. Oh, I see.
yeah, they're grim, man.
Yeah, that
The
is
turnips
grim.
are
I like
absolutely
those. That's cool. Yeah, no, I dig that, man. But this has been fun. I really enjoy it. I really like talking to people that I've told this to some other people with like the channel and stuff. It's just so fun to talk about. We talk so much about products, you know, but it's fun to hear kind of the stories behind it and be able to ask questions. And I am interested in like how people got involved in role playing games, like when
yeah,
you talked about that, and then you know, where their what how their path has been and what they think about stuff that's out there now, and you know, what's going to be. Do you have ideas about, because I know you kind of said it a little bit earlier that you about the kind of the direction that Cubicle 7 was going. Is this something that you're going to continue to work on? Are you going to pivot and move to something else? What's the future you think for your
yeah.
company?
So I actually, because when I was doing that course, I had plans anyway. But when I was doing that course, they need you to plan out the next 5 years. So I have products planned out for the next 5 years.
oh wow,
So there's a couple of things. So I want to do a proper monster book for Beyond the Woods, because there's tons of Irish monsters and myths and legends that aren't in the book. There's a few in it, but there's so many it is its own book. So I want to do that. But one thing as well is I've been contacted a few times from different people about bringing Beyond the Woods to different rule sets. So I'm looking at that at the moment.
Okay.
So there's one I have lined up and I have a contract for and all that kind of stuff that I'll hopefully be doing next year. I'm also, some people have said Shadow Dark. I'd love to do Shadow Dark as well. I've heard really good things about Shadow Dark. I haven't had a chance to play it myself. Some folks asked for Pathfinder. I don't really know Pathfinder. But beyond that, there's a game that's been niggling in my mind for a very long time, which is a horror game inspired by Resident Evil and survival horror video games. So I have the quick start written for that, and I'm hoping to have that and that's a brand new rule set. It's not 5e. It's like my own design system. I'm hoping to have the quick start for that maybe for UK Games Expo next year, and then looking at doing a Kickstarter for that next September, October. And then after that, I have a couple of things I want to do. I really like to do something like bright and happy, because I've worked on nothing but like grimdark stuff for the last few years.
Brutal.
Like a shonen anime, like, hey, let's go on adventure. One Piece kind of, everyone's kind of like happy, joyful kind of. And okay, no, One Piece isn't fully like that, but like
Care Bears. Care
Yeah,
Bears.
yeah.
They got a Smurfs role playing game that they've been. I know it's supposed to come out at some point.
There's something a bit happier as well, like, but yeah, there's so much cool stuff going on at the moment, and I want to, like, Beyond the Woods. It was something I wanted to do and really help launch the company, but in Beyond the Woods, and again, it's because I've done the layout. It's like what I would call like RPG standard. It's a gorgeous looking book. We have so much beautiful artwork in it, but it's 2-column layout, and that's it. And then when you look at stuff like Morkborg and Mothership and Mythic Bastion Land I just got, and Triangle Agency, and so much of the OSR stuff as well. And there's like a lot of people doing like micro RPGs and all that, and it's so creatively laid out and presented and everything like that. I'd love to do more stuff like that. Hire a super talented graphic designer, give them the words, and be like, hey, make this fit on the page in the nicest way possible, but also still legible, because it has to still be a rule book. It can't just be an art piece. But yeah, it's that kind of stuff that I want to do down the road. Yeah, and then I'll switch back to. I also have another like post-apocalyptic nuclear winter game I want to work on, but I could do it a happy break in between somewhere.
Sure. You gotta have your breaks. You'll get all muddled down with it, but this is I've really been enjoying this, and like I said, I know it's for 5e, and like I feel like, and I've talked to Jared, I think on one of our last videos, is that 5e's got so much stuff for it when it comes to mainstream video channels and stuff on YouTube, but it's great to spotlight anybody that's really doing anything creatively in the industry. And if it's doing 5e, then that's great, So whatever.
I appreciate it. I mean, like the setting guide, because a lot of people contact like, hey, can I just get the setting guide? I don't play 5e. Can I just get the setting guide? And you couldn't on the Kickstarter, but you can now on the like back get pre-order. So, like a lot of people who are like, they just want the setting guide. Because they're playing different systems, and a lot of people are done with 5e, especially because it's split as well. You have the 2014 edition, the 2024 edition.
They did that with
fourth press edition. You've the MCDM, whatever they're doing. Like there's so much.
I think it's actually weirder. Brandon, you said they did it with 4th edition. I think it's weirder with 5th edition because it had been 10 years. It's almost like just make it a new edition.
Yeah.
I mean, because right now it's in weird territory where I'm converting from 5th edition to 5.5 in my online game that my buddy in Jersey runs. And we play every Friday. And so we're all new to 5.5. And it's like the material available online is like, it's like mixed. It's like, well, D&D Beyond is technically in 5.5, but you can also use Legacy. And then when you try to make a 5.5 character, it still has Legacy stuff, which is 5th edition. But also if you go to this wiki, it's 5th edition, but not 5.5. It was like, why didn't you just... And they haven't really supported it either. It's such a bizarre...
It's weird to call it D&D 2024 because, like, was the Monster Manual didn't come out till 2025, and
it's
weird. It's really weird. Like, yeah,
I don't know what they're doing.
I've designed for, like, Beyond the Woods is for 2014,
Yeah.
but
Classic.
it'll work for 2024 because it has its own classes.
Yeah.
Like, so if any version of D&D, even if you have Black Flag Valiant, tells us Valiant, like, it'll work for that, as well. Or just get the setting guide and use it in whatever way you want.
It's great. Yeah, I like that you got this. They can get the setting guide because I've seen that with like the Planet of the Apes role playing game. People are like, I don't
Mm,
play I don't play role playing games, but I want to get a book. There's a book that came out for it that everybody's like, I just want to read it, and they literally say that in the book, like, hey, if you don't play role playing games, then this has got a lot of information
yeah.
too. So
One of the best things, like, I've seen is compliments that I've gotten is when people go into Age of Sigmar and like, how do I learn about Age of Sigmar? And people are like, buy the RPG. And I remember being told by Games Workshop that they would give them to their licensing partners, new licensing partners. They'd give them like the battle tomes and they'd give them our RPG.
Well, it's almost like you have to. There's some. I've tried to. I'm going to start buying some of the Realm Gate War books and stuff, but
Mm,
there's just like GW has this habit of just like it is like it's like a river of stuff. Like
mm,
I couldn't even imagine. I played fifth, sixth, and seventh edition 40K. I played third through eighth edition of Fantasy, and I trying to play those games today, I'm like, I
mm.
don't even know where to start. You buy
Yeah,
the rule book, but it's like, oh, well, then you got to buy the battle tome thing. I'm like, okay, so I have the battle
yeah,
tome. I'm like, well, then you got to buy this because you have to this. It's like, but I just want to know more about this. It's like, oh, well, then you have to look at these 16 novels. And
yeah.
I was like, what?
The
Oh,
Realm Gate War stuff isn't great, and like the
I've
second
heard it's very
edition Age of
mixed.
Sigmar rule book, the actual, like, the war game rule book,
Yeah.
summarizes them all in like 8 pages, and it's great.
Okay.
that's
Like,
Yeah.
helpful.
and I think they've done that in the future editions as well. If you are reading some of the novels, like some of the stuff during the Soul Wars is cool because it has some really interesting stuff about the Stormcast and how they
Yeah.
deal with keep having to come back and the resurrection sickness, and it has some other, and Callus and Tall, they're fun because it's like a witch hunter kind of stuff. So there's some cool stuff in it. I
There's some
want
good stuff
Before we
and some
go,
good names.
the story that popped into my head actually was when we worked on the map, Jared, the map of the Great Part, and it had been signed off for like 6 months or something. And I got an email from someone at Games Workshop saying, "Hey, you need to change this map. Like, the water needs to be a different color. This needs to change. This needs to change. This needs to change." And I was like, "Oh shit!" And I, like, sent like a panicked email to Jared. I was like, "Hey, just got this. Are you available? Can you make these changes? Whatever." And you were busy, obviously. Like, I think you were like, "Well, look, if we can or whatever." Um, but then I remember going back to Games Workshop and I dug it out. I was like, "This was signed off 6 months ago." And then I got an email a few days later, like, "Hey, sorry about that. Don't worry about it. You don't need to change anything." Like, the head of the narrative wasn't in the office that day, and someone else came in and saw the map and went, "What? We have to change it." So he came back and he was like, "No, we don't need to change it. It's fine." But yeah, it was
That's
yeah, absolute and utter panic when that happened.
well, it's crazy. I've encountered that, especially with Cubicle 7, because I've worked on a lot of their stuff, and it's interesting because you have it's the many headed Hydra. Sometime, you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
it's because not only does it need to agree with what you guys need to convey, you also have to go to GW as a licensee, and they have to hold. And you're just waiting on them half the time,
yeah,
and then they'll be like, "Oh yeah, here's some giant structural changes." I'm like, you saw
yeah,
the fucking sketches. Like, why now we're having this? We're having
yeah.
to have to do this kind of stuff. So it's like I can only imagine like you being in the middleman, and then
I
for
will say,
me,
like, I really enjoyed working with Games Workshop. Games Workshop were great to work with when I was there. You would get some stuff like that with the art every now and again, and stuff would be weird, but they were so good to work with. And at the end of the day, the way I always look at it is like, you're playing with their toys, so it's like, don't
yeah,
break them.
Yeah.
Like, and you have to be respectful of them, and it is like, I had some people who came in and tried to do writing for different things, and they tried to make it their version. Like, particularly with 40K, like, I want to make
mm,
a my version of 40K. It's like, well, no, there is the version of 40K, and Games Workshop gets to say what that is.
Yeah.
You don't get to say what it is. So it's about respecting it, and it's you don't ever take the piss out of it. It's you
mm,
respect what you're working on, you respect the things that they've created, and you take what they have done and try to extrapolate on it. That's the best way to do it, rather than try and crowbar your own stuff in, if possible. But no, I really enjoyed working with Games Workshop for the few years I worked with them. It was a lot of fun. There's some great people to collaborate with over there. So, but But yeah, there
They,
was some like licenses in general. There's always weirdness.
Sure.
Like with Lord of the Rings, you weren't allowed to call them books.
yeah,
What?
You can't write new Lord of the Rings books. You're not allowed to call them books.
Oh.
Yeah, yeah.
dude, that was the worst. That was the best project I ever worked on because I'm such a Tolkienite.
Oh
So
man,
I finished I get the tap to do the Lord of the Rings world map, right? And so I mean, you saw the map, and like I put everything I had in that fucking map, and I really really loved it and super detailed every location. And then I woke up, I rolled over, looked at my phone, I got the email from Cubicle 7 said we lost the license, and all the artwork that we had is in limbo. And oh, by the way, none of it's being used.
yeah.
And
Oh,
so they were good enough. They paid me. Cubicle 7 did pay me for the work, and it was a
oh
massive
yeah,
piece.
everyone was paid. Yeah, 100%.
Everybody was paid, but then I was like, well, what am I going to do with this piece? I can't show it. I
Mm,
can't. They're like, they literally were like, just take Cubicle 7 off of it. You keep your name on it, and you sell the piece. And I was like, are you kidding me? They're like, go. Let's just do it. Because what's the point? What's the point of keeping under wraps? Like I gave them a lot of credit for just being like, because
it's
I mean,
such a I still have, I
everybody.
still have it. I have it rolled up in over there. I need to get a new frame for it, but yeah, it's absolutely gorgeous. Yeah,
Yeah.
Thank you.
and you got to do it again with Fate of the Fellowship. So
Yes, I did. That was that was through AEG, right?
I
Or
think Z-Man's the publisher. I think are they owned by AEG? I can't
I
remember.
think it was AEG. It might have been Z-Man. I don't remember. But that was a fun. Yeah, that was it wasn't as detailed,
Yeah, it's not as big.
but
Yeah,
that was a surprising amount of back and forth too. Now we're
yeah,
talking about third parties and stuff, and it wasn't bad, but it was like, and mostly the art director was like, he was getting information piecemeal from the publisher or
mm,
the rights thing or whatever, because it's a board game, so board games operate a little differently.
yeah,
The layout was changing, and I had to repaint and this and that. Then they approved the border, then they disapproved, then I had to change it. Then it was like you always do have that stuff, so it wasn't that bad. But
yeah.
yeah,
There's a lot of weirdness around all that kind of stuff. Like I
yeah,
know for a while there was some weirdness I think around Lord of the Rings and like PDFs because they're digital. Similar
mm,
to like you can't get PDFs of the Star Wars RPG because digital digital game rights are owned by EA or whatever for
Yeah.
Star Wars. So that's why they're not allowed to release the PDFs and
Different
stuff. Like,
licenses.
really weird stuff wrapped up in it. But yeah, that's the joy of licensing, I guess. But I mean, you're paying a pretty penny to get be able to slap the Lord of the Rings or Star Wars on your
Yeah.
game and guarantee you're going to sell X amount of money, X amount of books. So
when they're
it's
diced up in such a way, it's like, so one company has like video games rights, one company has board games rights, one company has card game, another company has this, it's
Yeah.
like they figure out a way to like, and then they create like boilerplate like contracts for like
mm,
all of these different things. I ran into that recently with the I'm working on the third book, the How to Draw Dungeons
oh
book,
yeah,
which
yeah, I saw it.
yeah. So I signed with another company or whatever, but originally it was through Random House Worlds, which is an imprint of Penguin Random House, working with WotC, and they were a
Yeah.
licensee. And it was just 9 months of intense negotiation that just fell through because the boilerplate contract that they had did not fit what I wanted to do. They had never put a book out that way, so they were considering it like a product,
Mm,
but I was writing and illustrating, and it was my idea, and I needed creative control, and they were like, it just didn't fit. It wasn't like the D&D cookbook. The D&D cookbook is like it's like a kind of a bunch of different people working on it, so they
mm,
can only give you so much of that, so much of the royalties percentage, right?
mm,
Because their contract, it was just like, I was like, why didn't you say that from the beginning? And the problem is it's legalese. A lot of times
yeah,
the people that you're negotiating with don't even know what the company's legalese is.
yeah.
They just don't. So it's like, I don't know, rights issues like you said, and licensing, it's so, it can get in the weeds like pretty quickly. But
Yeah.
it was a shame with Cubicle 7. I thought they did a great job with first edition.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I haven't looked at the One Ring yet, but by all accounts, it's pretty good. Kind of more of the same. I know they're 5e, so Free League make great stuff. You know, it's
yeah, I was gonna say Free
Free
League
League
knocked it out of the
is really
park, so
good.
I can't complain.
Yeah,
And they had a very specific art style and stuff, and I understand now. It must have been hard. It probably was hard for them too. It was just not taking a lot of that artwork because it just did
yeah.
not fit what they wanted to do.
Even the back catalog, like that's what I can't get my head around. Like like take the back catalog and run a humble bundle and make yourself a small fortune. But anyway.
Yeah, business. I don't know. Anyway.
Yeah. Well, this has been good. Anybody got anything they want to wrap up with? Anything they want to say about anything? Emmett, you got anything?
I'm trying to think. Did I miss anything?
Yeah,
If
we'll
you're
always.
interested, you can pre-order it on BackerKit right now. I'm sure there's links and stuff. But
Yeah, I'll have a link.
no, it's been great to chat to you guys. It's been really
Oh, it's
fun.
been fantastic.
Yeah,
I love
super
it.
fun.
And time goes, and I'm just like,
How long we been on?
Almost an hour and a half.
Woo!
It's like 10:15 now. I'm like, oh, okay.
Yeah. But no, this has been great, and thank you so much for joining. The channel or the video here, and letting us know about Beyond the Woods. I mean, just for me and seeing so many products, I mean, you can just take an immediate look at it and be like, this is high quality. This is the art looks fantastic, like you said. Of course, the map, we're going to champion that, of course. And when I saw it, I was like, yeah,
It's all right.
this looks like a big, super high quality product. I'm glad that you went with slipcase. Those are really nice.
Yeah, I love Slipcase.
And you've got a lot of extra stuff that's in there. But I will have a link, in the description. Of course, I do pin comment as well. And as always, I'm thankful for Jared for joining us here. We hope to have more interviews with a lot more people in the industry with their products. We'd love to have Emmet back on, and we may do live streams and stuff in the future, and just try to spotlight some more of these cool products that are out there for whatever system and whatever they've got. Because it's always so much more fun, I think, once you actually are talking to somebody about their product than it is just showing it, because you don't really get that kind of feel for how it relates to you and your history, your heritage. And I really appreciate you spending the time to join us. And
Yeah, absolutely. No, it's been great. It's been great to kind of share a bit of Irishness with people. It'd be great.
And I noticed you drank that whole beer during this whole time, so I'm
just one, and it's been an hour and a half. Like,
I know, that's crazy. I'm very surprised.
Dedicated to it. I was like, and I saw you drown it down. I was like, nah, he's on top of it. So.
I'm not going to lean into stereotype now, but I should be on my second at least by now.
Someone's gonna be like, oh, he's falling way behind. He's gonna up
those
are rookie numbers.
He gradually
he's barely Irish. Yeah. Come on, now.
Yeah, this guy's Irish, whatever. But I do appreciate it, and thanks everybody for watching. Have a good one.
Bye.